Yeah, we have seen till now the different types of backups that are available in SQL Server. So now we are aware of recovery models and the backups types. In today's session, we see what are the restore methods and what will happen, what are the recovery phases that are available in SQL Server. So how the SQL Server restore process will happen. So in SQL Server, we have three types of recovery models. Sorry, recovery phases. So recovery models: simple, full, bulk locked. Recovery phases: copy phase and redo phase and undo phase. So in copy phase, the data will be copied from the database backup file to the database, and after that, so what will happen, it read the data from transactions, whether this data needs to be copied or not. So after that, so redo phase and undo phase, any committed transactions, those will be redo into the database. Any uncommitted transactions, those will be undo, that means roll back, those transactions will be get rolled back. So this is the process that that will happen when you do a database restore. These are the phases that happen in a SQL Server restoration. So to do a restoration, you have to do in any one of the method. Those we have, either you can restore in database in with recovery, with no recovery, or a standby. So once while doing the restoration, you have to specify any one of these three methods, either recovery method or no recovery method, standby method. With the recovery method, when you specify the with recovery method, so after your backup restoration, the database will come online. That means, so before it complete the restoration process, it will complete the recovery phases as well. That is analysis. In the analysis, it will read the data, and then redo and undo phases also will happen. So similarly, if we do the restoration in the no recovery phase, what will happen? It will copy the data from backup file to the database, and then it will not bring up the database online by doing the recovery phase. So that means the database will not recover completely. So it will be still in a restoring phase, and it will allow next backup files to restore. That means the redo analysis, redo, undo phases will not happen. Still, we can apply further restorations. Whereas in standby, it is similar to no recovery model, but the difference is with no recovery model, the database will show as a restoring and it will not be accessible until the recovery phases are complete. So in standby mode, what will happen? Even though the database will not go complete the recovery phases, it will be marked as a read-only standby database, and that redo, undo those uncommitted those transactions will be temporarily placed in a standby file, so that it will allow further restorations, and also the database will be in a read-only mode. If you want to read the data from the database, you can connect and you can retrieve the data from the standby database. So we have three methods to do a restoration. Those are recovery, with no recovery, standby. So once the database restore complete, before that it has to finish the recovery phases. Those are analysis phase, redo phase, undo phase. So when you do a restoration, the data will be copied from backup files to the database. So sorry, backup data from backup file to the database files. So that is copy phase. In analysis phase, it will see what are the committed transactions and what are the uncommitted transactions that need to be applied. So redo, it will reapply those committed transactions. Undo, it will roll back those committed transactions. We will quickly see a diagram. Let me see the audience view. Yes. So if you see this diagram, I have a database, and for the database we do have a full backup, this full backup contains the transactions from T0 to T1. And next, second full backup we have taken, that full backup has been taken at T2, after T2, and the third full backup has been taken after 3T. So 3T. So let us say if you have a data failure of the database, okay. So the latest backup, the available latest backup is at T3. So if you use the latest database backup and if you restore it, you can able to recover till that point of time. So that means till the end of the last backup, that is end of the last backup, you could able to recover. So after the backup, from the backup time to till crash of the time, there might be some transactions, right? This data you are losing, correct? You are able to recover the data from the time the database is created till the last database is backed up. Here you are able to gain the data, so if you restore it. But if you see here is some portion, there is a data loss, since we don't have backup, we don't have backup of backup for this time. That's why even though the failure happens, we cannot able to restore it. We will see next scenario. So to minimize the data loss, so let us say in this example we are taking backup for every day. So in this example, let us say you are taking backup on daily basis. Every day you are taking full backup. Every day at 00 hours. So your database is getting backed up. Fine. Every day you are having latest backup. Okay. The next day, that means, so if you see here, till from the previous time backup, so you'll be having transactions. Correct? You will be having transactions. If something goes wrong here, if your database is crashed at this, if the database is crashed, if you want to recover your database, if you see, if you take the latest backup, that is the time which you have taken, if you apply here, you can able to recover till this point. Correct? Because so if you use this backup, you can able to recover the database. This, if you able to if you use this date full backup, you can able to recover this point, okay, till here. That means you can able to data from here. So if you, since we have a latest one, you can able to recover from the time to this date. So after our latest backup, we may have some transaction in the database. Here if you see, this is data loss. So this modification that happened after our full backup. In this scenario, we do not have any full backup, any backup. That's why we will be losing our
Yes.
data loss. So if you see in this diagram, if you after the restoration of the latest backup, there is a slight data loss. Okay. We'll switch to second scenario. In this example shows the combination of full backup and the differential backup. So T0, the database was created. After that, we have initiated a full backup. So continuously, the differential backups are taken place. T2 and T3 are the differential backup. After that, again, T4 is a full backup, and that differential backup is the T5. So let us say if we have a database correction, to recover the database, what all we need to apply. So we have to take the latest full backup. So latest full backup is a T4, and after that latest differential backup. The latest differential backup is T5. So if we can apply T4 plus T5, so both first you will apply full backup and then you will apply differential backup. You can able to recover till this point. So in this scenario also you may have slight data loss, work loss. You will be having a some work loss. Okay, we will see those in our lab scenarios. Okay, how can we achieve up to date data and point in time data? So we will see the next diagram. So in the next diagram, let us say if you have a transaction log backups, so full backup and differential backup. So in this scenario, so we do have transaction log backups as well. First full backup has been taken. After that, differential backup schedules are there. In between differential backup and full backup, you have transaction log backups as well. Okay, so let us say your backup strategy is weekly full backup. Okay, daily differential backup, hourly transaction log backup. That means every Sunday your database is backed up, full database will be backed up. Okay, daily that means changes that happen in the database from the previous full backup that's going to backed up, and hourly the transaction log is getting backed up. So in this scenario, if we have a transaction log backup till T9. T9 is a transaction log backup. So if you have a failure occur, okay, then you can apply a latest full backup, plus on top of it you will apply a latest differential backup. After differential backup, what are the transactions that you have? Those transaction log backups, that is T7, T8, T9 you will apply. So that is the last transaction log backup you apply. So till then you can able to recover. This information will be still remain in your transaction log file. So that one can be backed up by using tail log backup. If you remember in transaction log backup, we have seen tail log backup. Tail log backup, it backs up the active content from the transaction log file, and if you it will not truncate the log file. And if you take the by using that option, you can keep the database in restoring phase. So let me quickly show you that option.
Yes.
Simple. If the database is simple, we cannot take the transaction log backup. Let's go to tail log backup option. If you see backup the tail of the log, so that means here we are backing up the active portion, and then so that if you back up from the last backup, the active transactions are getting backed up in your tail log backup.
Okay.
So I think now you can able to see the screen. So till last backup is here. If you take the transaction log backup, so, tail log backup, this active portion is getting backed up. If after the crash, let us say at this point, if you have a crash, so let us say if you apply the latest full backup and then plus latest differential backup, plus all the available transaction log backups. You can and the last tail log backup, so that you can able to recover the data till the failure occur. So till the point in time. So till this point you can able to achieve your data. Let us say in between if you want to restore till to a particular point, that also can happen, because you can specify the time till what point this needs to be restored, this, or else if you want to restore till end of the fail log, you can apply complete log, so that till the failure what are the data is available in the database you can able to retrieve. If you compare with the previous examples, here the data loss is almost nil, right? If you see here, you still have little data loss from the previous. If you take the first example, full backup, if you have a only full backup strategy, in the full backup strategy, so after the full backup, so here we are having data loss. After full backup, what are the transactions that are happen into the database? So we cannot recover it. Even though if you take the tail log backup, so maybe you can take the tail log backup and then apply. So here if you see, you don't have data. It will take time to take the content from the transaction log backup, and you are losing the data here. In the second one, differential backup, you are having full backup and differential backup. So if any changes that happen, here slight data loss, and also you cannot apply point in time restore here since you don't have transaction log backup. So if in the third example we have full backup, differential backup and transaction log backup strategy, since we have transaction log backup strategy, point in time is possible and we can still minimize the data loss. So to restoration, we always need to choose the latest full backup, latest differential backup, and after the differential backup, what are the transaction log files is available, you need to apply all till the end of the log file. Okay. So if I want to apply restore one or more backups, that is full differential one or more transaction log backups. So which method, restore method, I need to choose? So we have three modes, right? With recovery, with no recovery, standby mode. So now if you keep the database restore with recovery, what will happen? After copying the data from backup file, it will go to recovery phases and it will bring up the database. Right? If you bring up the database, it will not allow for further restorations. That means after your full backup, your database will not allow for restore any other backup restoration, and it will complete the recovery phases and it will come online. If you want to apply any further backups, that is after full backup, if you want to apply any differential backup or any transaction log backup, you must use with recovery, with with no recovery or standby option. So if you use with no recovery option, data will be copied from the full backup and it will not allow the database to do recovery phases, that is analysis, redo and undo. On top of it, we can still apply the differential backup. Once the differential backup complete, if you still apply, if you restore the data differential backup with no recovery, still the database will not come online. Still it will be in a restoring phase. It will allow further transactions until you specify the recovery. It will not go to the recovery phases and it will not bring up the database. If you the database is in recovery phase, you can still apply those transactions. Clear? So any one of the restore method you can choose it. If you keep the databases and if you choose the method as a recovery, the database will go to the recovery phases and it will bring up the database. So in our example here we have the strategies full backup and differential backups and transaction log backups, right? So in this scenario, if the failure happens, what you will do, you will take the latest full backup with no recovery, and then you will take the latest differential backup with no recovery, Okay, and then all the transaction log backups with no recovery, the last transaction log backup you will keep with restore with recovery. So
Recovery.
yes, so that after the last restoration of the transaction log file, the database will go to redo, undo phases, and it will bring up the database online. So yesterday when we are discussing about the copy only backup, what will happen in between if I take the copy only backup? So what will happen? The sequence, the restoration sequence will change because the data, the LSN numbers and the entries, the parity, this some differential change bit parity will change. Let us say here if I take a differential backup, my differential backup, sorry, if I take a full backup here, if I take a differential backup contains the changes only from here to here, right? So I cannot able to restore from this point to this point. So my full backup says here, my differential content here. So if I use
Yes.
this full
Yes.
backup, I cannot use this differential backup because there is some mismatch here. That's why if you use the copy only backup, so you can avoid this kind of interruptions in your restoration sequence. Okay. Now we will see. So we will take a database backup. Let us use query.
And Srinivas, if you want me to wait tomorrow, I'm okay with that. I'll wait for remaining people. Again, you need to repeat all this session, right? If it is okay, I will wait.
Yeah, I will just show you one database restoration and then we'll continue.
Yeah.
So I have taken the backup. Let us say now the database is crashed. Database, some data corrupted. That means the data inside the database objects, someone deleted the objects. So this is nothing but losing the data, right?
Yes.
So now I lost the data in the tables. So if I want to recover the database, so I have a backup. So right click on the
Yeah.
database which needs to be restored. Task, go to restore. What kind of restore you are doing? So you are doing the complete
Database.
database or file only one or two files. So database
Okay.
and which database you are going to restore. So with the backup you can create a trust database also. So I'm not creating at this moment. I'm not creating a trust database. So I'm restoring it onto the existing database. Okay. So existing database I created. Where is my backup file? So backup is available in the database or it's from a disk. My backup is available in disk location, right?
Disk.
So
Yeah.
here my backup file it's of 1.19 GB. Yesterday I think you are sitting here asking. So when I try to open this file, I couldn't able to open the backup file. So opening the
Yes.
file is
Yes.
nothing but restoring the database to make use of the backed up the data. Yep. Uh, Now I need to specify the device. Okay. So like how did we browse the location for our restoration? Now here specifying the location from where I need to take it. So for backing up, we have specified in which location I have to back up. Here, from which location I have to, from which file I need to restore it. From 7th 9th. So since we are having different backups, if I use, let us say, if I use yesterday's full backup from yesterday till today, if any modifications happen, so I will not be having those changes now, right? So I need to use latest full backup, even though we are having 7th full backup, right? 8th full backup, right? If you use previous day's full backup, after full backup, if any changes happen, you will not be gaining them. So that's why I need to use latest full backup. That is latest full backup that is available. That one I have taken. So I have choose the file. So I need to that backup file. See source. What is the first lesson? What is the lesson? At what time the checkpoint happened? All that details. At what time the database start time and end time. These details, the same details we can find in backup set table, msdb.backup set table. We'll be selecting it and go to options. Here, what we are telling, the restore recovery state with restore with recovery, restore with no recovery, restore with standby. If I do the same thing with the recovery, the database will copy the content from the backup file to the database. After that, it will go to the recovery phases. If you choose the no recovery, it will not go to copy the database data from backup file to the database, and it will not go to recovery phases. It will allow still it is in a restoring phase. If you use standby, so as soon as I select a standby, it is asking for a standby file location. So what will happen in the standby file location? It will keep the uncommitted, the redo undo related transactions in this location, and the database will be marked as read only standby. So if the database is a read only standby, you can still apply your transaction log backups or any further backups, and similarly you can retrieve the data. So first let me do a database restoring with no recovery. Okay, with no recovery. So I'm clicking on OK. I just generated a script for our practice purpose. See here, whenever I select this database name and which location, the logical and physical name automatically came from our backup file. Okay, so here override the existing database. My database is already available and online, right? So if the database is someone use, currently if it is a database is being used, what my SQL server will do, it will remove the connections and it has to apply this copy from backup file to the database. So since the database is exist, so I need to override existing data, existing database and existing files I need to overwrite with the new data, new content. So if you see here, already here your structure, table structure, everything is there. So that's why you need to use override the existing database. Let us don't use now and see what error it will throw. If you see the progress is still 0. First it will try to
Yes.
acquire the lock on the database before it start copying. Restoration is failed for the server. Exclusive access could not be obtained because the database is in use. So that means someone is using the database. To do a restoration, it has to gain the access and then it will to start copying the data, right? If someone is using, it cannot gain the access. So who is using? We can check that from current activity monitor or else by using sys processes. or as sp underscore who2. Who is using the session ID. If you see here, the session ID 54. The session ID 54 is lock using the database. That's why the connection is with 54. That's why our restore process couldn't able to get the exclusive lock. Select star from sys processes. Since this is a system object, this will be available in master database. For that, if you use sys master database, automatically it will pull from master database, or else you can use master dot sys databases. That is the table. Here if you see with the database table, with the database 7, the speed 54 is running. What 54 is doing? dbcc input buffer of 54. 54 is doing, okay, the session, this entire session is doing running with the session 54, right? So that the session is our session only, but that is running under that session have a hold connection with the database 7 ID 7. I simply changing the database to master. Now connection, check the connection 54. 54 moved to other one. Let us say if any other connection is holding the access on the database, you can kill that session by using kill spid, like kill 54, so that the connection will be killed. So to do a restoration, you need to have a exclusive lock, and then it will do a restoration. So now again I am trying one more time after clearing the connections. Okay, it says you are trying to restore the database, but some content is available in your transaction log file. That means the active portion is available. That means tail of the log here.
Okay.
Till this point, we are having backup. This says some active content is available in your transaction log file. We want to backup that. So we will see in our next examples. So not required. The tail of the database has not been backed up. Backup with no recovery contains the work do not want to use. Okay, I don't have. If I use overwrite, what will happen? The existing database will be overwritten with the backup file what we have specified. See, as soon as I give overwritten, existing database files has been overwritten by copying the data from the backup file. Okay, now after the restoration, if you remember, I use the database is with no recovery option. With no recovery option, the database will restore phase. I cannot read the data on it.
Yeah.
Right? The same thing if I do from with standby. So the same operation what I am doing with standby. So with the standby, I need to specify standby file name. So I use the option replace to override the existing database. See if you see here, I am specifying only thing is here I am specifying the standby file. That big rollback, undo, redo. So any undo redo changes that needs to be any transactions are there. So that will be decided in recovery phases. So now I am not letting my database to go recovery phases. So that's the reason until I let my database go, it has to keep somewhere in this standby file location, standby file. Those transactions will be saved. Let us go ahead and run it. Are you still using replace option so that it will override the existing files? Could not find the store procedure. Oh, entire thing. Okay. See, since I used stats 10, whenever there is a 10%, it try to log it. The database is small. It is giving before writing printing the value 10, 20 like that. The value is percentage is increasing. The rest database restore is complete. Just let us refresh it. Database refresh. Now see, the database is standby read only. That means on top of it, you can able to apply the next backups, and still the database is in restoring yellow for restores, and the database is in read only. It is able to read the data from the tables. You got the data, right? So we lost the data and we restore the database with no recovery. When the database restored no recovery, it didn't go to recovery phases, it's still in restoring mode. So second example, what I did, I used it with standby. In the standby similar to with no recovery, it will not bring up the database online, but the database will be marked as a read only. Those uncommitted transactions will be available in a standby file. So if I apply any next backup file, if the transaction related information is available in the next backup file, it will use, or else those will be redo and undo, and whenever I specify restore with recovery. Now if I don't want to do a restoration with any backups, I just need to bring up the database. So now only thing I need to do is I need to let my database to go recovery phases. Correct? I need not to copy it, right? My data is already copied from backup file to the database. All the data came. Now if I want to bring up the database memory, only just recovery phases without backing up. If I do a normal restore, what will happen? It will copy. After copying, it will go to the recovery phases. Redo, undo, copy, redo, undo will happen, and then it will bring up the database. The typical syntax for restoration is restore database. Previously we used a backup database, database name to location to take the backup. Here if you remember, from we are restoring from means we are copying the data from a file location, that is restore database. To which database we are restoring? From the location of the backup file, and backup file with options status, it give the percentage. Since the database is already exist, I need to use replace so that existing data will be overwritten with the new content. Percentage complete. If you see here, database came online. In the three examples, in first example, what I did, I restored with no recovery. Second example, with standby. Now I did with recovery. When I do the with recovery, after copying, database will do redo and undo phases. Okay. So whereas in with no recovery phases, the data will be just copied, and those uncommitted transactions will still remain. It will not go to the recovery phases. So until the database complete the recovery phases, it will not come online. So the next one is standby mode. The advantage in if you restore in a standby mode, even though the database don't go to the recovery phases, the database will be marked as read only. So advantage is on top of it, you again can apply next backups. That means if you apply previously, first if you apply full backup, on top of it you still can apply differential backup. On top of it you can still apply transaction log backups. Okay, Srishi, any questions?
Naga, yeah.
Sorry.
So with recovery, we cannot make it, and no recovery and standby, we can make it, right?
Means, so with the recovery means the database will go to the recovery phases and it will come online. If you restore the database with the recovery option, on top of it you cannot apply any further backups to restore. Let us say here in this scenario, in our example, here we have more than multiple files, multiple backups to restore to achieve the database to up to a point in time, or up to a minimal data loss. So in this scenario, what all are you need to apply? Here you need to take the latest full backup, latest differential backup, and multiple transaction log backups you need to apply. So if you restore your full backup with recovery, what will happen? The database will copy the data from backup file to the database, and it will go to the recovery phases and it will come online. So that means till this point only you will could able to recover the data. So our aim is not to recover till this point, right? So our aim to recover till end of the till the latest full backup, latest backups are with the minimum data loss. So for that, on top of this full backup, you again need to apply this differential backup. So to apply this differential backup, your database should not go recovery phases. So for that, you need to apply this backup. While applying this full backup, you have to choose with no recovery option. With no recovery option, the database just the data will be copied from full backup, and the undo redo will not happen. So you can still apply this differential backup. With this differential backup also, you need to apply with no recovery. Why no recovery? On top of it, we have few transaction log backups. If you don't keep the databases with no recovery, what will happen? Till this point of time, the data will be copied and database will come online. So from this point to this point, you cannot able to recover it. To recover this, again restore this thing. So until last backup, you have to use either no recovery only. The last one you can use with recovery. If you use with recovery, after copying the last transaction, the database will go to recovery phases and it will come online. Okay, Naga? Yeah, we will continue tomorrow's session. We will do multiple scenarios tomorrow, and we will have little more detailed session on restoration. Okay. So if no questions, we can end up today's class.
With no recovery, we can do after full backup also, remaining also we can get it, right? Full with the recovery until in the example we can get that up to full recovery. Remaining files, whatever we do, we cannot get it with the recovery.
Correct. If you do with recovery, database will come online. If the database is online, you cannot restore, right? Again, you have to do the restore process from starting.
Yeah.
So that's why on top you are adding differential the changes that means which are available in the differential backup on top of your full backup. Correct. So that means first one you are keeping in with no recovery and adding the changes. That means a differential backup and the full backup. That means up to the last one you will use with no recovery.
Yeah. Last we can do recovery.
With recovery. Okay. So that the
and standby we can do undo and redo operations with no With no recovery, we cannot do those operations, right? Undo
The
and
standby
redo.
and no recovery both are same. The only difference is the database will be marked as restore. Those uncommitted transactions are temporarily saved in a file, and the database will be accepted for read only, so that users can able to read the data, and you can still apply next transaction backups, or if you want to do any restoration, you still can do.
Oh, okay,
Let
okay.
us say you have a reporting server. Every time you will move the data from production environment to reporting environment. So if any changes that happen in a production environment, those are you are dumping to the reporting server. So users can read the data from report server rather than pulling the data from production server, so that the traffic to the production environment will low. And also the latest data means either if you keep a 30 minutes delay, or half an hour 1 hour delay, every 1 hour you take a backup from a production, that is transaction log backup, and you restore it in a report server. Those changes will be coming here, and you will be having a point in time, but you will have a delay of 1 hour. If you do a restore with standby, the advantage is the database is in a read only mode. The users can able to still read the data. On top of it, if required, you can able to do further restorations.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Naga. Good night.
Yeah, thank you, Srinivas. Bye.